finishes the season with 8 goals, one of the top goal scoring and assist threats in the conference. She'll certainly be missed, but you've talked at length about how excited you are about your youth movement and your freshman class, and how, whether they've filled in for someone because they're hurt or just unavailable on any given night, you think they've played admirably, and I would hope you feel the same way about whoever's going to slide into her spot now.
Very excited. And the fact that we can, again, keep testing ourselves. It's nice to have such depth that we've been able to play a lot of players. So it's not like the first time we need to step in here and play somebody that hasn't seen the field before.
Coming to you live from Finnie Stadium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University. Welcome inside our coverage of OAC women's soccer tonight as the Yellow Jackets host their crosstown rivals, the John Carroll University Blue Streaks. Alongside Juliana Rubin, I'm Brendan Gulick. Looking forward to tonight's game because these two teams, both are talented, both at times have played really well this year, and quite honestly, at the fourth game in conference, they both really need a win.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for this game. It's always a good challenge between both teams. You know, BW and John Carroll play very similar styles. And at least the past 3 years I've been here, it's always been a battle on the field for skills and fitness and just overall mental strength. So I think that we'll see that again tonight.
John Carroll, 6-3-2 on the season. They have played well lately, though, winning 4 of their last 5 games, and the one they didn't win was a draw. So they definitely kicked it into a good year after a tough non-conference schedule. BW 8-4-1, a little bit better overall record, but John Carroll 2-0-1 in the OAC. And because BW fell in their last conference game at Wilmington on Saturday, they now have 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw in conference play. So John Carroll is in second place in the OAC standings. BW right in the thick of things. They're still very much in playoff position, but still a few weeks to go to figure out who will make the OAC championship playoffs. We had a chance to visit with Jim Whitekin, the head coach of the Yellow Jackets, before the game. Let's check in and see what he had to say. Baldwin Wallace and John Carroll tonight on the ladies soccer field, and we're with head coach Jim Whitekin before BW takes the field tonight. Before we talk about the game, the overarching storyline this week is unfortunately the loss of one of your senior leaders, Alex Elliott. She'll miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. Interested not only how she's taking it, but how the rest of the team is handling it too.
You know, difficult for Alex. I think you want to end your senior season on your terms. I think when it happens and you walk away with an injury, it's just very difficult to handle. I think it creates a measure of sadness, a measure of disappointment, but overall I think she's handled it very professionally. From a team perspective, again, you lose a player that has a significant ability to impact the performance of everyone else around her. So we definitely have to generate some additional focus for the team and stay centered. You know, it's easy when you have an Alex on the field to make things around her go slower for the other players. So now we just got to pick it up. Again, we're sad for her, but we realize that as a team perspective, the girls are ready to pick it up and go forward.
Alex finishes the season with 8 goals, one of the top goal scoring and assist threats in the conference. She'll certainly be missed, but you've talked at length about how excited you are about your youth movement and your freshman class, and how, whether they've filled in for someone because they're hurt or just unavailable on any given night, you think they've played admirably, and I would hope you feel the same way about whoever's going to slide into her spot now.
Very excited. And the fact that we can, again, keep testing ourselves. It's nice to have such depth that we've been able to play a lot of players. So it's not like the first time we need to step in here and play somebody that hasn't seen the field before. So everyone's got some time and some minutes. They played under pressure. They played at the collegiate level, so they understand the speed of the game. So I think we'll be able to definitely pick up the pieces. You know, can we replace Alex? Absolutely not. Can we fill and compete? Yeah, we'll do that very well.
You're going to play a John Carroll team tonight that's playing good soccer. They had a couple of setbacks and some good non-conference games early in the year, but in their last 5, they've got 4 wins and a draw, and they're starting to kind of round into shape, and they've got one of the conference's better players as well in Bailey Fisher. Maybe more generally than specifically about a player, what impresses you about what you've seen from John Carroll?
Highly organized team, very well coached. They space the field very well. They're comfortable passing the ball around, making the game fast, hard to defend when you're moving it from point to point. And they look to get to the big side of the field relatively quickly. They try to disconnect you and force us to adjust to the way they play. Tell you the truth, they play like we like to play. So it's going to be very interesting because if you look at us on film, you'll see us trying to do the same things. So it's like looking yourself in the mirror. You know, they're getting some good results, and maybe we had a recent setback, but if you look at how they like to play and how we like to play, it's very, very similar.
Our listeners can't see it, but I'm smiling here listening to you say that because that's going through my head as you're kind of running down the things that they do well. It sounds a whole lot like your team. And so when you play against a team that stylistically is so similar, doesn't it come down to just executing little things in the game?
Who makes the mistake? There'll be a mistake somewhere tonight, and the team that has it is the other team can capitalize. I hope it's us. They hope it's them. But we've played enough in that style that it's just going to be a matter of who can control the rhythm of the game and wins the balls and maybe wants it a little bit more. I'm fortunate that we're playing at Finnie tonight, so that's exciting for me.
Does it put any extra pressure on Rachel Bender with Alex Elliott's absence, just given the fact that the two of them have kind of been the two-headed monster that have push this team forward?
You know, from a human nature standpoint, I would say yes. From how we're trying to coach through it, I would hope not, because we're trying not to put the weight of the world on one player to say that, you know, it's my responsibility to win this game. So I think if we've talked about that and we've put her in a situation, we've asked her to relax and play how she plays, not think that she has to do double or triple the work to compensate. I think our job is to fill the void and give her opportunities to do what she does well. And if we do that, then she's going to have the opportunity to score and make a difference. But if she tries to do it all herself and we don't step up to help her, then it's going to be very, very difficult for us to win.
Given that Alex, by her nature, is an offensive player and she's a good offensive threat, not that she can contribute defensively, but how much onus do you put on trying to pick up something offensively to kind of move forward without her, as opposed to focusing on, hey, okay, we're missing one of our best offensive weapons. We got to shore up defensively to make sure we don't give up that goal.
Great question, because it's just going to matter how the game shakes out and where we're at from a possession or rhythm standpoint. We're going to probably slide Anna in that role today, so she's going to give us a little bit different mobility. So she'll cover some more ground, so we'll be able to maybe get deeper in transition. So we're not going to have the strength maybe of getting forward as Alex does, but we're also going to be able to limit their ability to get out of the back a little bit more too. So it's going to create a different dynamic in how we play.
Last thing before we let you go, more on a personal level. You're more than halfway through now, your first year as a head coach. If you could conduct some kind of self-evaluation, how are you doing so far?
Average, I think. I think that we're learning on the fly. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but when you're a head coach, you have to learn a little different things, how it goes. I've had some good moments, had some bad moments. So I think from this point forward, I think it'll change a little bit for the better.
Can always count on you to be honest. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Brendan.
All right. Yellow Jackets and Blue Streaks next on BWYellowJackets.com. Always enjoy our pregame visit with Jim Woyton. If nothing else, he's going to be honest. He is fun to spend some time around, and he's got this team playing good soccer here as the season has progressed. 8-4-1 overall. They had a great stretch where they hadn't allowed a goal for several games consecutively, and even though the last two games haven't gone their way in the win column, he told me after that interview, Juliana, that the Mount Union draw here at home, he was upset they didn't win the game at the end of regulation, and he was awfully thankful they didn't lose the game because Mount Union had a great couple of overtime periods. So sometimes it's just about having the right perspective.
Definitely. I think that the Yellow Jackets, though, understand what they need to do tonight, and I think that Jim does use that film. And I know in the past that we've watched film as a team, so I'm sure that he has watched film with his team tonight and showed them what they could do better, what they have done really well, and what they need to do tonight against these Blue Streaks.
Looking forward to seeing this game as it unfolds here throughout the course of the evening. We'll step aside for just a moment because we've got the national anthem coming up. And when we come back, we'll give you the starting lineups, and we'll get underway this evening. John Carroll and BW on the women's soccer field next on BWYellowJackets.com. All right, it's time to go with the Blue Streaks in their navy tops and navy shorts. Baldwin Wallace in their home whites with the brown and yellow on the front, and they'll have white shorts on as well.
For head coach Jim Wyken, here's how they'll line up. It's a 4-3-3 look. We'll start left to right across the back. Caitlin McGuire, Jenny Burdick, Bree Osborne, and Lauren Haynham. Kenneth Stones, Anna Poptic, and Kayla Webb will occupy the midfield with Rachel Bender, Courtney Schutz, and Corey Miller up top. Of note, Rachel Bender, 12 goals on the year. She's one of the top scorers in the conference. Courtney Schutz, 6 assists on the year, but no goals scored. We'll keep our eye on how that might change. She has taken 29 shots, third most on the team. Wonder how that might change with Alex Elliott not available here moving forward. Again, the head coach for Baldwin Wallace is your very own Jim Wyken. Tara Bowen, Chris Kraft, and Allie Wyken all assist Jim Wyken. For the John Carroll Blue Streaks, 6-3-2 on the year. They're 2-0-1 in conference play. Alexia Keller, Hannah Brinning, Alyssa Simon, and Taylor Newhart go left to right across the back line. In the midfield, it's Casey Lindstrom, Justina Fortson, and Rachel Bronig. And then up front from left to right, Katie O'Donnell, Bailey Fisher, and Sydney Skello. Their goaltender, Rihanna Ganera, who's had a really nice season so far, only 8 goals allowed in 11 starts. She's made 50 saves with a save percentage of .862. John Carroll's head coach, Mike Marich, and Jackie Hall is his assistant. For Ryan Slack, the head official. Assistant refs are Vicente Suarez and Gary Oscar. All right, just about ready to go. How about your thoughts here pregame as we go in? What do you want to see from each of these two teams?
I think Coach Wyken said it in the pregame chat that both teams, they play very similar. I think BW needs to gain possession early on if they want to control the game, and that goes for the Blue Streaks as well. Both teams look to possess, play quick, counter, and have great movement off the field, and I think it'll just be a battle of which two teams can play the best tonight. Jim said it in his talk. Whichever team makes a mistake is going to be the team that might regret that. So I think we have a lot to look forward to.
Two schools that are also awfully familiar with each other, not just because they play each year in the conference, but in most sports, they are really considered to be rivals. John Carroll won the game last year, played in University Heights. The final score was 2-0. Goals were scored by Bailey Fisher and Jacqueline Audino, both of whom are still on the John Carroll side. Bailey Fisher, a pretty talented young lady, is coming off of an OAC Player of the Week award. We'll keep our eye on her. She wears number 7, if you can see that, playing at the center forward spot. So she'll be pressing up most of the evening. Just recently underway, it's the second minute of action. The way things look right now on the women's standings, Ohio Northern continuing to play exceptional soccer. They're 11-1-1. And they're 4-0 in the OAC. There's a little bit of a drop-off until you get to John Carroll at 2-0-1, but to give you an idea of how dominant Ohio Northern's been, they've outscored their opposition 10-2 in 4 conference games, allowing only 1 goal to Mount Union and 1 at Heidelberg. But they just beat Heidelberg 5-1 earlier today. John Carroll moving left to right, and they'll play it ahead to Skello. She rolls it out of bounds off of a jacket. Ohio Northern right now continues to look like they are in a slightly more of a class of their own. I don't know if I would say it's totally non-competitive. I don't think that's fair, but not too many teams have given them much of a contest yet. And the way the schedule shakes out, BW actually sees them pretty late in the season. Rachel Bender's always going to be a threat because of her speed. She can't outrun that one. And when I say late in the season, I mean they'll play Ohio Northern in their second to last game of the year. That's coming up actually 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, the way that Baldwin Wallace does their schedule is that we always seem to play our toughest opponents towards the end of the season, as if everything else is almost a practice run preparing for those really big games, which helps going into OAC playoffs. Hit the top opponents right before you know what to expect.
You know, it's kind of funny how that seems to happen because there's really no reason behind it. For example, when they group together schools that are going to compete against each other in conference play, they often group several sports together at once. So, for instance, tonight, while this game's going on here, across the street, the two schools are playing volleyball as this one gets loose for Brunig. Comes out, Bruno, and she was able to partially deflect it. Lauren Hanem there to close down two and prevent Skello from putting one in. We have a corner kick coming. But just to finish that thought, the two schools are playing volleyball right now at Ersprung Gymnasium. And tomorrow, the two men's soccer teams will play over in University Heights. So it's just sort of dumb luck the way that kind of works out in BW's favor. Taking the corner kick, John Carroll goes with Hannah Brenning in the corner. She's one of their defenders. With the right foot. Everybody marked the blue streak well. Rachel Bender got in the way as Katie O'Donnell cleared up. And that one was sent pretty easily into Emma Bruno's waiting arms. Shot on by Alyssa Simon, one of John Carroll's captains. This is Bailey Fisher. O'Donnell lays it back to Alexia Keller. She right foots it ahead off of Jenny Burdick's forehead. While Bailey Fisher and Rachel Bender both have put up pretty impressive numbers so far this season, very different kinds of players. Rachel Bender's going to use her speed a lot more. You'll see Bailey Fisher much more technically sound.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Bailey Fisher definitely wants the ball at her feet, and she wants to look up, find space, find players, look to do something with the ball. Rachel Bender really sets herself apart with her speed. She can look to get ahead of the play, and with her speed, she's able to get there for those crosses, or with the ball at her feet, get ahead of those defenders. So, like you said, very different players, but both very, very sound players that stick out on the field.
Well, and look, Bender has scored 12 goals on the season, but she's also created 7 more just that she's been given credit for in the assist column. You could argue she's probably been a factor in even a handful of other goals. But Bailey Fisher has a way of just sort of dicing apart the opposition's defense. She had a big week last week. Again, the OAC Player of the Week as John Carroll won back-to-back games this past week. Loose in the middle of the field, Corey Miller, who had an OAC Player of the Week award 2 weeks ago in her honor. Get it back. John Carroll did not give up a goal last week. They blanked Heidelberg 2-0 and pounded Marietta 5-0. In fact, the Blue Streaks haven't allowed a goal in conference play after a scoreless draw at Wilmington on the final day of September. So they're playing well in the confines of the OAC. Good defensively there from Brenning, cutting across, making that tougher. Fortson ahead to Lindstrom, and Hanem was able to step in there, but we have a whistle away from the ball.
Called back for that sliding tackle by Courtney Schutz.
I think the ref was going to let it go if John Carroll kept the advantage, but once they lost it, the whistle was more important. Katie O'Donnell with the right leg. That one fell apart on her. Still alive, though, for Lindstrom, who's racing after it. She trips over a defender, and the ball is sent over the top of the bar. Shot missed by Skello.
That's a dangerous ball, though, bouncing in that box. You know, Bruno, well, she's a great goalkeeper. If the ball's bouncing like that and there's a lot going on, she just simply doesn't have that command. She's not that big to come out. There's a higher chance that ball over her head, so she stays on her goal line. But the defenders are just kind of watching the ball bounce as well. So that's a dangerous ball back in the BW defensive third.
Well, and for most of the season, that hasn't bothered Bruno. She has stopped almost 90% of the shots that have come her way. But you're right, that's one of the areas where she can get beat. And the Yellow Jackets have given up 3 goals in their last 2 games after not having allowed a goal, period, for 6 games in a row.
I think to Bruno's defense, though, she knows not to come out on those balls. You know, she understands that that might not be the best play for her.
Schutz and Bender with a great 1-2 touch. Now Rachel Bender's left-footed shot right on target, but Rihanna Ganera there to make the stop. Bender almost got caught more in a situation where she was trying to cross the ball as Ganera needs a little help getting it out of there. But Rachel's got a pretty strong leg, and sometimes a cross can come across as a shot. Ganera was there. Minute of action, no for Baldwin Wallace. Jim Woykin sitting down on the bench on the far side. Head coach Mike Marich just took a seat. He had been walking up and down as the rest of his team at the moment is on their feet. Two coaches that age-wise are about 25 years apart, but they are cut from the same cloth. And I think they both really respect each other's ability and what their teams have done this year as Fisher tries to make something happen here. Really strong effort. Fisher rips one with the left foot. It's deflected out. But I think it hit the goal post and not Bruno's hand. And so it's a goal kick instead. That's where Bailey Fisher can be dangerous.
Absolutely. She's able to use her skills with the ball at her feet to dice up, like you said, the back line. And I think that's where the Yellow Jackets are really going to have to watch out. They're going to have to stay on their toes, even though they might be marking her. She just has that ability to get around players with her skill work, not even her speed on top of that.
Throw-in coming for John Carroll on the far side. Rachel Bender. Boy, she was really getting tugged quite a bit, and the yellow card is coming out. It's given to John Carroll's Taylor Newhart, who was not really making much of a play on the ball. Newhart gets a yellow card in the 11th minute. You could certainly hear the fans not happy with it, but I think that was a pretty easy decision from Ryan Slack.
Yeah, easy decision by the head AR. I think that just kind of sets up the stage that this is going to be a pretty physical game, and both teams are ready to come out and fight, especially with that crosstown rivalry.
She'd rather take the yellow card than give BW's most dangerous player essentially a fast break opportunity. And in that realm, kind of hard to blame her. Rachel Bender's able to finish those more often than not.
I mean, from her standpoint, it's a great foul
Sure.
at halfway. I mean, you'd rather have her have a free kick at halfway than, like you said, a break at the 18-yard mark. So
Can totally understand the process there. This one's loose in the middle. Maybe a chance for Kenna Stones. I don't think she struck that one the way she hoped. It goes out of bounds. Kenna Stone's one of those young players for Jim Woykin that's going to get a lot of opportunities now. She and Kayla Webb both starting in the midfield, both young players, and both will play an important role now that senior Alex Elliott is out with an ACL injury for the remaining of the year. Alex's injury occurred actually at practice yesterday. It was not in game, and so that's certainly disappointing for her. You heard Jim Woykin talk about it in the pregame, but for BW, they've got to find a way to move on from it and just focus on who they do have out on the field. Certainly disappointing for Alex and for the way her season had been going. 8 goals entering tonight is actually 4th most in the conference. She does not have any eligibility remaining, so she will not wear the Yellow Jacket jersey again.
yeah, that's super unfortunate for Alex. You know, if you know Alex, she's a hardworking, dedicated player, and soccer is her life. So I'm sure that hurts. But for the Yellow Jackets, I mean, like you said, they have to move on, and they do have that youth movement. Looking at the Yellow Jacket lineup, 5 of their players are seniors. So after this year, they're going to have some more young faces in there, and they're going to have to learn to play with that senior leadership that they have this year, with many of the starters having started all 4 years.
Well, I know in talking to this coaching staff, too, as PW throws it in on the far side and has to scamper back defensively here, PW feels like maybe they are a year away from being really good. And that's not a knock on this senior class, but it does speak to the talent of some of the underclassmen. Haynham really getting tangled up, and that's a foul on John Carroll's Katie O'Donnell. Haynham drew the whistle, I think Jim Woykin and his staff are hoping that this senior class that does have some good leaders in it can help bring along this young freshman class. And he said, look, we have some good seniors right now, as a foul is called. But there's no doubt that the freshman talent is there. And they're looking forward to the next couple of years in this program.
I think this is definitely a good group of senior girls to go ahead and mentor the younger ones as well. I think they understand the game, and they're generally good people to, give advice. They're not afraid to tell you what you need to do better or what you're doing good. And I think that in the long run, that's going to help the Yellow Jacket team. Like you said, they might be just a year away from that win.
You're just about a quarter hour in. No score so far. Webb in the midfield does a nice job holding off Justina Fortson. Shoots, needs some help, and goes back to the defensive side. Brie Osborne crosses far side to Caitlin McGuire. Back up tops in the center to Courtney Shoots. Looking for Bender on the far side. You'll notice, if you recall the last home game against Mount Union, as John Carroll takes it over, McGuire is once again starting at left back. Corey Miller had started that game at right forward and then was put back on the defensive side. Nice ball played in. Low right-footed shot, maybe a little bit slippery. Not a bad idea, but Anna Poptic couldn't keep her feet underneath her. Anyways, Miller, a defensive and offensive player. She's certainly versatile, but she's back up top where she's been pretty solid so far. Quick goal for John Carroll. And it follows, I should say it's followed by a BW throw-in. Bender beats Newhart. Left foots it off a blue streak and out of bounds. Fortson, Skello, and Newhart all kind of crowding in the corner for John Carroll, trying to make it tough on the Yellow Jackets. Nice work from Kayla Webb. Haley Fisher able to reset things for just a quick moment. So far, neither team has really had much to hang their hat on.
No, I think it's been pretty equal for the most part. I think both teams have had opportunities. I think John Carroll's have been a lot more dangerous, perhaps, and closer to the goal, but BW has gotten quite a few shots off. I think it's pretty equal so far.
Both teams 3 shots, 1 on goal, 1 save, and each team called for 2 fouls. That one sent ahead looking for Fisher, and Osborne's there to knock it out of bounds. Baldwin Wallace, the top scoring team in the conference. They've put in a total of 32 goals on the year. 32 goals in 13 games is going to win you far more than you lose and draw, as long as you can play some semblance of defense. Sent in by Keller. And while BW has certainly been offensively talented, they've only allowed 11 goals in those 13 games. So they've really strung some things together nicely.
Yeah, BW's back line, while it has senior leadership, I think Brie Osborne, this is her second year starting, and she learned from the seniors before her, and I think we also have that freshman experience. We see Caitlin McGuire on the far side, and we saw Morgan Gray come in last week and hold down the back line for BW, so they definitely have depth.
Bailey Fisher had a nice ball played out for her. Fisher with a little space, rips one for the top right corner. Awfully close. Emma Bruno had no chance to save it, and John Carroll just misses on a shot from quite a long ways out. technically not a shot on goal, but probably the most threatening shot of the night for either team. And Bailey Fisher only needed a small window to get that one off.
Yeah, that was just unlucky on Bailey Fisher's part. It was a great strike, though.
Both teams with their starting 11 still on the field. We are about 18 minutes in. John Carroll and BW still scoreless. Official Ryan Slack says play on. Keller, cut off by Osborne. Lindstrom couldn't come over. Little tapper over to Kenna Stones.
Great ball.
It was good movement here. This one's finds some open space in the middle for Poptic. Diving save. And Poptic was close to putting BW on top 1-0, but a good stop by Rihanna Ganera. John Carroll keeps the game at a clean sheet so far.
Yeah, that was a great attempt by BW, but Anna Poptic it didn't really look like she put that much behind the ball as much. It was just kind of like a pass. I think if she struck it a little bit harder, it would have been in the goal.
You know, she and Kayla Webb both a couple times look to me like they're slipping around a little bit. The temperature is beginning to cool off. It's in the high 60s now, but it's been really humid. Usually you think of humidity with heat, but I mean, it almost feels like the humidity is over 90%. You can feel the temperature in the air, and you wonder if maybe it's just making the turf a little bit slippery tonight.
Perhaps it was really, I don't know what the word is, misty outside this morning as I was going to class. I couldn't really quite see. It wasn't fog because there is precipitation in the air, but it wasn't raining, so perhaps that's still sitting on the turf.
It was warm this afternoon. The temperature got up 79, 80 degrees, but it's definitely cooled off and feels a little more like fall here this evening. Corey Miller was underneath it for just a second before Alyssa Simon jarred it loose. Good effort by Poptic, but she couldn't keep it in. The Yellow Jackets start loosening up there on the far sideline. Keller throws it in for John Carroll, and Brenning sends it forward. How about this long-distance shot? Courtney shoots. Decided to let it rip from about 30 yards away. Pretty good look. More traditional goal kick this time. John Carroll have several short ones.
Yeah, those short ones didn't really seem to be working out quite as I hoped. Perhaps those longer, like you said, more traditional ones will give Carroll possession in the midfield, which it has done right now. So Anna Poptic just swiped that from her, and Rachel Bender on the far left side.
Got a great look at it here. Bender strikes just outside the post. Corner kick coming. Rachel Bender scored BW's only goal against John Carroll 2 years ago as a freshman. And she nearly put the Blue Streaks on the board here in the 22nd minute. Right-footed corner, swings toward the post, it's off the post. How did that not find the back of the net?
Wow. It was a great cross-in by Courtney Schutz. It was a great way to get the head on the ball. That's just unlucky. Looks like John Carroll will be making their first substitution of the game.
And they're going to take Sydney Skello off the field and replace her with Jacqueline Audino. This series is usually very competitive, but unfortunately BW has not won a game in a little while. Almost controlled by Bender, and then it rolled out of bounds. BW has drawn John Carroll 3 times in the last 5 years. But we're looking back through the schedule to figure out the last time BW beat John Carroll. It has been quite a while. I'll let you know as soon as I figure it out. Fortunately, we're going back a little further here than we'd like to.
You know, we mentioned the field possibly being wet, and the more I think about it, the last time that we played John Carroll at home, I believe it was a pretty miserable, cold, rainy evening that BW wasn't able to come out with it. I think we played overtime against them.
There were a couple of overtime games the last few years. Going back to 2007, Baldwin Wallace has not beaten John Carroll in women's soccer. Throwing on the far side. Unfortunately, that's as far back as our digital records go. So it has been a little while since the Yellow Jackets were able to come away with a win.
I'm sure they're looking to change that tonight, though.
Well, they've certainly had a couple of good chances here early in the game. For the Yellow Jackets, it's just kind of about trying to play a solid game and not make any glaring mistakes in bad parts of the field as Emma Bruno exchanges passes with Caitlin McGuire. 25th minute.
We can hear Emma Bruno from the goal instructing her team who to mark up on this throw-in.
One of the signs of a solid keeper, when you can control your back line and have good vision of where they should be. Katie O'Donnell on the throw-in for John Carroll. One's out of play.
Corner kick for John Carroll coming here.
Blue Streaks with a big chance.
The corner kick looks like it'll be taken by the substitute Jacqueline Audino on the far side.
She's got a right foot, so this one swings away from the goal. Headed high up into the air by Courtney Schutz. Actually, big part that's Kenna Stones. And then on a rebounded, lofted shot. Fairly easy for Emma Bruno. A mistake in the midfield by John Carroll, but the Yellow Jackets can't immediately capitalize on it.
Good pressure by Kayla Webb.
You'll notice Rachel Bender has switched from the far to the near side of the field. That one rolls out of bounds. What's the reason you think behind changing sides of the field? Just to get different looks on the defense?
Just get different looks, different energy up, perhaps. They feel like Rachel would be able to beat the defender on the right side better than the left side, or maybe the left side is too congested, so they want her on the right side. I'm not really sure right now. I think that the John Carroll defense as a whole is playing really well, but we see Rachel on the right side. They just kind of switched everyone down one. Corey Miller's in the middle, and Courtney Schutz is on the far left side. So perhaps they're just looking to, like we said, get different looks on the goal, have different matchups. But it looks like Marissa Fabrizi is going to be coming in for Corey Miller.
Yeah, so a substitution here for BW, and that will actually likely send Bender back to the far side of the field.
In fact, it does.
Fabrizi almost always exclusively plays as a right attacking forward. Trying to work with Kenna Stones here. O'Donnell slips on the ball. She too has switched sides ever since Audino came on as a sub. O'Donnell's right foot into the middle. Stone's too much out into the pass ahead. Ooh, that one didn't feel good off Hannah Brenning. Just under 17 minutes to go in our opening half. No score between W and John Carroll tonight. McGuire had it pulled right out from underneath her.
You know, one thing I do notice a lot of tonight is we can hear a lot of the players. I think a lot more than we usually do. And I think that's coming from both sides. Both teams seem to be very communicative tonight, which is great for their organization.
I totally agree with you on both fronts. You can certainly hear them better, but if you're not talking to each other, it's hard to get any kind of rhythm going. Small window up top for Audino, but it closed too quickly for her. Boy, Fortson was trying to just slip behind that back line, and Haynham gets called for the foul.
Just a little too physical there by Lauren Haynham. And that'll set John Carroll up for a relatively nice spot to have a free kick.
Yeah, Bailey Fisher and Alexia Keller both standing near the ball. It's Fisher. Takes a crack at the near post. Just missed it.
Tried that trick play there with Keller running over it.
Anything to just get that one extra step in your favor.
Tried to slide it right behind the wall, the three-man wall that Emma Bruno had set up there. Unfortunately, Fisher just missed, probably by a foot.
So far, the most action we've really seen from Rachel Bender was a shot from the left-hand corner. It was from a pretty tough angle, but it was still on target. In fact, it was the only shot on target for a while that BW had taken. BW's out shooting John Carroll 7-6 at this point. But really the most exciting play we had so far was a yellow card at midfield. Neither team has really had any dynamite breakaway chances. It's been more about creativity. Bailey Fisher's taken a couple of good shots.
I think Bailey Fisher would have to be the standout player so far. I think that her chances have been a little bit more dominant than what the Yellow Jackets have offered up.
Here's a chance for BW. Poptic lost it at her feet. That's too bad. Couple of subs coming on here. Let's see, for BW, they're bringing Kenna Poptic, Josie Fenn into the ball game.
Kenna Poptic replaces her sister, Anna Poptic, as Josie Fenn replaces Caitlin McGuire.
Nice to see Josie Fenn back, too. She's been working her way back from an injury. That one held off, and a goal kick coming. Cassandra Wakeman and Claire Cuthbertson also unavailable tonight, along with Alex Elliott. The Jackets are not completely at full strength, but
it's hard in such a long season for a team to remain at full strength when they play as many games as they do and they practice as often as they do. I think that it's a rare occasion to have your team at full strength, especially in OAC play, but that's what makes it interesting because you have younger players that need to step up to the plate and often do.
Several changes of possession. A chance now for Kenna Poptic. Great defense from Justina Fortson. Shoots kind of peeled off of it. Still looking for her first goal of the season. Great closing speed by Marissa Fabrizi, forcing that one out of bounds. Under 12 minutes to go in the first half, still no score. Rachel Brunick racing after it. This one's cut off by Fortson, but the ball slipped over her foot. Neither team is controlling it well as Bender races after a beautiful ball thrown her way in the corner. But she struck it out of bounds.
Just couldn't keep that one in play, unfortunately. That was a great ball by Kenna Poptic, threaded right through those defenders.
A still, quiet, and fairly heavy night. It is a thick, heavy air this evening in Berea. Poptic had that one ricochet off of Hannah Brenning, one of the two center backs. And in a lot of ways, what we've seen on the field is mimic the environment the teams have played in tonight. Courtney shoots. Not particularly clean with the touch. Maybe Kayla Webb can make it work. Kind of stone stuffed at the top of the box. Shoots, able to keep it alive, far side. Well, it was rolled too easily toward the keeper. Perhaps this is unfair, but in my opinion tonight, Courtney Shoots looks like she's got a lead foot. She can't touch the ball softly enough, whether it's sending the ball as a pass, taking a shot, or even just in her dribbling. It's touched too far in front of her every time.
Yeah, her touches definitely aren't as close as they should be, especially her first touch seems to be a little bit frantic, especially there, not controlling it as well. Just an off night for her. But I think that first touches is always something that a team as a whole can work on. I think maybe not tonight, but other times we have seen the Yellow Jackets or the entire team, their first touch was just off. So unfortunately, I think it's just not Courtney's night for that aspect. But she is taking a lot of shots, so hopefully one of those will return.
Lindstrom right at Bruno. Took it from well outside the 18. But Bruno had a good beat on it. The shot was ripped right at her, and Mike Marich is left to just stand there and then sits back down over on the bench, far side of the field. Less than 10 minutes remaining in the first half as Casey Lindstrom has another chance, perhaps. Audino rolls it toward Fisher. She lets it go through to Katie O'Donnell. One-hop skipper. Nice save by Bruno. That was a good look from the Blue Streaks, albeit another deep shot attempt.
Watching Emma Bruno there hold that ball against her chest, throwing it out to Josie Fenn, I think she's getting a little bit frustrated, which is understandable, but I think that her team is playing pretty well. Not as good as it probably could be as they don't have a goal, but I think that it'll come for them.
Morgan Gray and Bella Szymanski check in for Baldwin Wallace. Addie Burns on for John Carroll. Webb and Jenny Burdick both have a seat for the Yellow Jackets.
When we talk about that youth movement, Yellow Jackets now have 2 seniors on the field. Looks like probably four freshmen.
Casey Lidstrom, by the way, just checked out for John Carroll when Burns came on the field. 8 minutes remaining in the first half. No score between these two cross-Cleveland rivals. Bruno put it right to Bailey Fisher. It was poorly hit, but thankfully the ball ricocheted high enough into the air that Bruno could scurry back between the pipes. I think Jim Whitekin is saying something to the effect of, pick up the ball. 7.5 minutes to go in the first half. Throw in coming. Other games that are going on around the conference today, 2 that are final. We told you one of them. Ohio Northern beat Heidelberg 5-1. If you can believe it, that was not the most lopsided game of the night. Capital pounded Muskingum 7-0. Otterbein and Wilmington are scoreless in Westerville. That game's in the 35th minute. Marietta and Mount Union got started at 7:30. Mount Union scored an early goal in the 9th minute, so they're up top 1-0. John Carroll corner kick coming far side. It's off of Kenna Stone's top of her head, and it frees up Rachel Bender. Bender running a wind sprint all the way up the field as Alyssa Simon tries to cut her off. Bender looking for some space, finally forced to lay it off. John Carroll's counterattack stymied pretty quickly. Nicely done as Fortson stifled it.
Great defense by the Blue Streaks on that play, able to hold off the Yellow Jackets, applying pressure and not allowing that cross.
Fabrizi's short left foot played it in. Out of bounds. 6 minutes to go in the first half. Yellow Jackets making a sub. They're taking Courtney Schutz out of the game and replacing her with Olivia Muldoon, another freshman. I'm not sure that's really how they drew that one up. Nice play in the midfield. Jackets take it back. Bella Szymanski helped win it. Now Muldoon with Bender playing in the middle. No problem for Ganera coming across. So Rachel Bender has played all three spots at the top of the formation here in the first half. Starting on the left side. About 20 minutes in. Flipped over to the right side, and now she's playing at center forward. Left-footed strike on one hop. Aldino's not afraid to let it rip. She's taken the second most shots of anyone on the team. But she's only scored one goal on the year. Her shot percentage is about 3%. Bender spins around and feeds Muldoon. She beat Newhart off the dribble. A collision. Ball goes out, stays with BW with 4:12 and counting here in the first half. Muldoon showing some open field ability.
Yeah, that was great movement off the ball. You could see her running for that. And Rachel Bender was able to get the spin off that player and play it to Muldoon. Unfortunately, she just couldn't get it across the field, but it's all right because the Yellow Jackets ended up with a throw-in here.
They'll throw it in again after Josie Fenn had it knocked out. Great ball played ahead. Kenna Stones, too heavy with her touch on that right knee. It goes out of bounds as John Carroll brings on some fresh legs. Blue Streaks check Amanda Johnson, a sophomore from Erie, Pennsylvania. She'll check in. And she replaces Rachel Brunegg in the midfield. 3 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first half. We are still scoreless. John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace typically play pretty entertaining games, but BW has not beaten John Carroll in a decade. Our records only go back to 2007. This one's thrust ahead, looking for Fisher. The last line of defense comes alive. Good play by Jenny Burdick. Actually, I beg your pardon, Burdick had checked out. Right?
Looks like that's Morgan Gray.
Yeah, it's Morgan Gray, that's right, who had taken her spot. Morgan Gray came on just a little bit ago.
Gray did have a great game last week here at George Finnie against Mount Union.
comes a BW throw-in. Great effort by Rachel Bender. That official was waiting for a little bit of help, but that one is directed as a goal kick. Under 2 minutes to go in the first half. No reason for either team to really hurry here at this point. Katie O'Donnell. Great left-footed pass. It opens up a terrific shot, and Audino is just a little strong. She got underneath the ball and popped it too high in the air. Otherwise, John Carroll was knocking on the door of the game's first goal.
Yeah, if that were on frame, that would have been a difficult save for Emma Bruno. It possibly could have put the Blue Streaks ahead here just before half.
Under a minute to go in our first session. Knocked away by Fordson. Lauren Hainham, in her senior year, she's been an integral part of this back line for Baldwin Wallace. A bright young lady. O'Donnell plays it to the feet of Audino. Oh, great through ball for Bailey Fisher. And she slipped as she struck it with her left foot. John Carroll is closing this half in impressive fashion. They have not put one in. And with just 3 seconds left, Bruno doesn't even have to kick this one away if she doesn't want to. We've reached halftime. John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace still tied in a scoreless draw so far. Both teams have had some chances, but at the moment, I think the score probably reflects where we're at. Neither team has really taken the game by the horns at all.
I would agree. I think that John Carroll definitely finished strong. I think that they started to pick it up towards the end. I mean, Bailey Fisher has been dominant for the Blue Streaks offense. I think Rachel Bender has had some chances, but I don't think that she's been as dominant as the Yellow Jackets need her to be on the offense right now. I think both teams, not necessarily playing possession, but I think both have controlled the midfield a little bit, and I think both back lines are playing relatively strong. And like you said, I think the score does reflect the game so far. It hasn't been all too exciting, but I think both teams are battling.
Well, all 5 of the last 5 shots of the half were taken by the visiting Blue Streaks, and many of them were pretty good looks. So John Carroll, as you mentioned, did close the half on a pretty good note. In about 15 minutes, we'll get the second half underway, and we'll be back to bring it to you live. John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace tied no score at the intermission. Just about to start the second half at Baldwin Wallace. John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace right now tied in a scoreless match that has had a few fun opportunities, but for the most part, we haven't seen too much in the way of big, exciting plays so far. Juliana Rubin and Brendan Gulick with you, and for the Yellow Jackets, I think they probably withstood the last few minutes of the half, where John Carroll dialed up the pressure a little bit. But for Baldwin Wallace, I think it's more about trying to create some opportunities offensively, because their creativity today just kind of been lacking.
I would have to agree. I think that their chances just haven't been all that exciting, and that comes from the creativity. I think that the ball has just kind of rolled the keeper a couple of times. They aren't really trying anything new. The crosses are just the same. They're not trying to get in and behind, and they just don't really seem eager up top. I think that, their backline is playing well. I think that they're getting by in the midfield. Their offense, while they're putting some pressure on the back line of the Streaks, they're not really eager, and they're, like you said, they're not very creative. I think that Bailey Fisher up top for the Blue Streaks, though, is eager, and she is creative. And like we said, the Blue Streaks finished strong, and I think they're coming back now, and they're ready to score. And I think we don't see that from the Yellow Jackets, and that's what they should dial up the second half.
We'll certainly keep our eye on it, because BW lost their last game at Wilmington, and John Carroll has won 4 of their last 5, with a draw mixed in there, actually also against Wilmington. And I think both teams right now are trying to make a bit of a run in the OAC. The Blue Streaks 2-0-1. They only trail Ohio Northern, who is 4-0 in conference play so far, and they're 4-0 because they won earlier this afternoon. So they have played the same number of conference games by the end of the night. But it'll be interesting to see how this one goes, because I think BW is talented enough to win this game, but they've got to kind of band together and figure out how to do that. Nobody on this field is wearing a Yellow Jacket jersey. Nobody has beaten John Carroll in their careers. They've had a couple close games. They've drawn a couple times, but no wins. If you missed it in our pregame coverage, Alex Elliott done for the year with a knee injury. She's a big loss for BW as a senior. That one kind of slowly rolled off Jacqueline Audino's foot out of bounds. And in Elliott's place so far, Kenna Stones, Kayla Webb, and Anna Poptic are holding down the midfield nicely. Kayla Webb, technically the starter in Elliott's place today. I think without her, they've played okay. They certainly have a lot to do to make up for the 8 goals that Elliott has already scored this year.
I think that the Yellow Jackets will learn, though, how to play without her. Unfortunately, that's just something they're going to have to figure out if they want to have positive results going forward. And I mean, like Jim said in the pregame, he doesn't want the weight of I have to win this game on a single player. So I think that's important for this team to realize that, yes, Alex was a key player. Yes, Alex was a big part of the team. She is a captain. She's a senior. But she's not the only reason why they win games, and that it comes down to everyone. There's not just one player on the field. There's all 11 players. So I think that it'll be a good learning experience for the Yellow Jackets.
Alex is over on the sideline this evening. Again, her injury occurred yesterday, so it's still pretty fresh for her. I'm sure it's probably a mental challenge as much as it is a physical one. Just seeing that your time playing has come to an end before you wanted it to. That's the disappointing part. Miller with a nice touch to the far side. Haynham looking over toward Courtney Schutz. Play kind of fell apart though. It had a nice start to it. Played up top the other way for Audino. Bailey Fisher pulls it back for a moment. A through ball, Audino in a dangerous spot with the left foot, and Bruno makes a diving save. Emma Bruno with her 6th save of the night.
Emma Bruno's definitely playing well, or especially well this evening. She's been tested quite a few times.
5 minutes into the second half. John Carroll's come out a little bit hotter. Another goal kick coming. BW's only had a chance to take one corner kick all night, and that was probably their best look on the goal. It came fairly early on. The Jackets had it in the 22nd minute. Courtney Schutz was in the corner and played it into a tight spot in the middle where Kayla Webb was able to actually get her head on it. The ball deflected off the crossbar. It was kind of unbelievable that that one didn't go in the net.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity by the Yellow Jackets. And, we talk about part of the Yellow Jackets game, part of the BW
Looking
game.
for Lindstrom in the middle. No. Jackets just trying to get it out of harm's way for a moment. Go ahead.
Part of their game is those set pieces. And that's what is really important that they have to capitalize on. So they might look back and hope that that header was maybe just a couple inches lower. But the blue streak seemed to be knocking on the doors of BW. Start of the second half.
Poptic up toward Corey Miller. Nicely played right at Corey's feet. Shoots shields off Hannah Brenning for just a moment. Then she fell to the turf. Again, it's a relatively cool night with temperatures in the high 60s. But it is very humid. You can feel the moisture in the air. And I think it's making the playing surface a little bit more slippery for both teams. Here's a rocket from a long way out, and John Carroll scores. What a special goal. Katie O'Donnell, 1-0 John Carroll. 6.5 minutes into the second half. That was crushed into the net.
Yeah, that was an absolutely great shot. That's just a rocket low and to the corner, which is a goalkeeper's probably their worst nightmare other than upper 90, especially when the playing surface is so slick like this. I mean, unfortunately, just Emma Bruno dove, but it got right under her. Great shot, though. I mean, that was an absolutely great look, especially from that far out, which we haven't really seen John Carroll doing often this game. But as we look down the field, it looks like the Yellow Jackets have a corner kick short, taken between Schutz and Miller. Shoots with a cross. Unfortunately, no one could just get on the back of that.
Well, the live stats here for a moment have actually credited the goal with to Jacqueline Audino, but I was pretty sure Katie O'Donnell hit that. I'll try to get clarification for you. Did you have a better look at it?
I'm not sure. I thought it was O'Donnell.
And everybody certainly came over after the play to O'Donnell as well, but I'm pretty sure that was O'Donnell. Well, as it is, this one's played into the box and pulled away by Ganera. Nice long punt into this heavy air this evening. Either way, John Carroll scores in the 52nd minute. And it is 1-0 Blue Streaks. And so now BW has to figure out a way to make this go a little bit higher pace. Probably the appropriate way to say it.
Yeah, the Yellow Jackets need to get something started offensively, whether that's through their quickness or through possession or getting in and behind. I mean, that's a great switch right there.
And shoots to Hatem on the far side.
Just little things like that to get the ball moving upfield in quicker pace, I think, is what's going to get it done. But they need to have that eagerness now. They need to be hungry for that goal, and I don't really think that they were in the first half. I think they wanted it, but they didn't really want it that bad.
Still a throw in. That favors John Carroll. Bender with her back to the net. Had it deflected. Right foot into the middle. It slips through everybody and almost created a disaster for John Carroll. By the way, we do have a correction for you. The goal is Katie O'Donnell's third of the year. So if you're following along on the live stats, that will reflect shortly. But O'Donnell gets credited for the goal in the 52nd minute. And John Carroll leads the game 1-0.
Fisher just kind of let that run out, didn't really hustle after that.
How does the fact that John Carroll has scored here early in the second half change the way this game might be played?
Hopefully, I'm sure the coach John Carroll is thinking that it doesn't change it, and that John Carroll is just as hungry for the next goal, and that they are continuing to be strong in that back line. For BW, hopefully it lights a fire, and that they're more eager and they want that. They need to play strong on the back line, but their midfield and their offense have to get it together. They have to control the midfield. They have to put together creative passes up top to get in and behind John Carroll's defense, and they're gonna have to be physical, and they're gonna have to be mentally strong, and they're just gonna have to want it, I think, because the Blue Streaks right now, according to the scoreboard, want it more than them.
John Carroll has the 1-0 upper hand. Game far from over with still just more than half an hour remaining in regulation. And BW has had some late game theatrics this year. Don't count them out. Bender trying to take control, the all-conference performer. One of the fastest players in the OAC with her right foot. Just let one go more than 30 yards away from the net. I like her willingness and desire to make something happen, but that one didn't seem like a high percentage chance.
You know, I was just going to say that I think that BW is taking those shots from far out, which are great and oftentimes do result in goals, as we just saw for Katie O'Donnell. But lately, it does not appear that shots from far out are benefiting the Yellow Jackets. And that I think they need to look to play the ball on the ground, in and behind the defense, rather than looking for the ball over top, because those crosses just don't really seem to be going to people, or they're going out. I mean,
well, just to play devil's advocate, because I tend to agree with you, but given that no matter who's had the ball tonight, I know he pointed out Courtney shoots earlier. There's John Carroll starts a fast break that's quickly negated. I don't want it to sound like we were only picking on shoots, but she was the example at the moment. There have been a lot of quick possession passes that have found their target, you know, when they've worked the ball up the field. So does that force anybody, whether it's Rachel or anyone else, to start taking shots from deeper?
I think it does force them to, but I think that Rachel needs to take that experience and that leadership and say, guys, this isn't working. And I know that it's quick on the pitch to make that decision, but instead of taking that shot, I think that she can hold the ball at her feet, look behind her, and play the simple pass. I think that right now they need to focus on playing simple and not forcing it. And I think by hitting those crosses and hitting those shots from far out, they're forcing it. I think if they're able to just hold on to the ball a little bit longer in their offensive third and play possession in the offensive third rather than forcing it through, that they'll have even better looks that are closer to the net, because those shots from far out just aren't resulting in anything.
Well, we've played almost 60 minutes of soccer tonight, and I can't think of too many times where BW, whether they've gotten a shot out of it or not, can't think of too many situations where the Jackets have had any kind of sustained pressure. They just haven't had a lot of build-up throughout the course of the night. Counterattacks were like this, where Rachel Bender is racing away. She rolls that one into the middle, has it partially deflected. Taylor Newhart was there with her. Newhart has to be careful. She got yellow carded in the 11th minute when she was tugging Rachel's jersey as Bender ran across the middle of the field. Lauren Haynham with a right foot, and on one hop, right into Ganera's waiting arms, but at least Courtney Schutz was in the area. That was a better chance.
Like you said, their pressure hasn't really been sustained. Even that, I mean, it was a little bit longer than usual, but Rachel takes it down the field, tries to get a cross off. It doesn't happen. Ball comes back to the midfield. I mean, that's really been the cycle of their possession or their offense tonight. And I think that if I said earlier, they're able to hold on to the ball in the offensive third, that I think more things will happen for them. And I know that's difficult to do against a back line as strong as John Carroll, but I think that that will give them a better chance of closing in on the game.
Well, Blue Streaks have another throw-in coming. And it's always more difficult when you're chasing the game, especially late. I mean, look, there's still just over 30 minutes remaining. So there's not that great sense of urgency of, hey, we need to throw everybody forward and score now. But you certainly don't want to play from behind any longer than you have to. And that one awkwardly went off Bree Osborne's head, and it becomes a corner kick and throw-in. I'm quite sure it's not what Osborne had in mind, as Jacqueline Audino lined up the corner. John Carroll can make a big statement if they can put one in the back of the net here off this set piece. Audino's a right-footed kicker. This one swings away from the net, into space. Fortson just didn't strike it very cleanly, or else this game very easily could have been 2-0. Here comes a new blue streak. They are going to bring in Addie Burns, freshman from Newfane, New York. And she comes on for Rachel Bronick. Here comes a goal kick now for BW after that one was rolled out by Bailey Fisher. Poptic ahead to Corey Miller. See, and those are the kinds of touches that I'd like to see, you know, there be somebody on the end of rather than always throwing the ball forward and hoping someone runs to it.
Definitely. I think that they're doing that a lot tonight. I don't know if that's because the ground is wet, it's because they're chasing the game and they're frantic or they're panicked. But I think that if Corey Miller is able to control the ball, if Anna Poptic, I mean, it was a great ball to Miller, but if she's able to hold it at her feet a little bit longer and find someone else, I think it'll be...
Shoots into the middle. It's punched up into the air. Stones and Fisher one-on-one, and it's Bailey Fisher. Slips behind the defense for a moment.
Jenny Burdick able to poke it away from her. As Burdick knocks that one out. Some more substitutions coming on the field for both the Yellow Jackets and the Blue Streaks.
Yeah, it's Marissa Fabrizi checking in, as well as Sydney Skello. Fabrizi replaces Caitlin McGuire, sending Corey Miller into the back. Not a surprise there. Miller's speed hasn't been quite as effective tonight. And honestly, I think McGuire is still learning on that defensive end as she tries to talk with a couple of her teammates over on the bench. So Fabrizi, a good offensive option. Meanwhile, Sydney Skello, the kind of player that can make this a 2-0 game if she gets in a good spot. She hasn't scored yet this year, but certainly poses that threat.
Yeah, I think the Yellow Jackets are going to have to push up top. I think Marissa Fabrizi is a great substitution. I think she brings a lot of energy to the field. She's a really scrappy player, and she has a lot of hustle. And I think that's what the Yellow Jackets need right now.
26 minutes and 15 seconds left in the second half. John Carroll got a 52nd minute goal from Katie O'Donnell from about 30 yards away. She ripped one into the bottom left corner. Emma Bruno made a diving stop, but the ball didn't really stop in its tracks. It kind of deflected off of her hand and then rolled past her into the corner. A really nice goal. Not a cheap goal from O'Donnell at all. Burdick tries to get out of the way. You can see she loses her feet on what I have to imagine is just a slightly moist playing surface tonight. You get some of that moisture on artificial turf. It makes it a little slick. Bender looks ahead. Unfortunately, Schutz didn't really have her back to the goal quite yet. And this is another new substitution coming on. Kayla Webb back in the game. And she's in there for Kenapoptic. Anna Poptic, who just returned to the Yellow Jackets a little over a week ago from an injury.
Good defense by Corey Miller, not allowing that turn.
Lindstrom working with Fisher. Corey Miller back there to stop Fisher. I think that might be her primary objective in being moved back to the defensive line. Don't let number 7 get past you.
But very well might be. I mean, Billy Fisher has been key to the game. While she hasn't gotten a goal, I think that she wants one, and I think that she's very close to getting one. So yes, absolutely, Miller is back there to put the big no in front of her.
Jenny Burdick's played nicely in the second half. She cracks that one forward, but again, Fabrizi and Schutz not near it enough.
Going back to that finding at the other end of the ball, great way to clear out the ball on the defense and get it up and kill the Blue Streaks' offensive attack, but to whom was Burdick kicking it to? With just about 23 minutes left in the game, down by 1, every play needs to be intentional. It has to have an intention. It has to have someone behind it.
Stone steps in the way. She wants to let it go. Right at Ganera, but that was a really good look from Kenna Stones. I know it was a shot from a long way out, but that one I was more comfortable with, just given the fact that she had time to let it go, and Stones is pretty good from that distance.
Yeah, she had time to let it go, and she had time to put power behind it. I think the other shots we've seen tonight from far out haven't had anything behind them. Katie O'Donnell's was a rocket. Bailey Fisher hit one to the upper 90. But I think BW's have just kind of been long passes. But not that one. Kenna Stones let it rip on that. Unfortunate that she couldn't get it behind the keeper, who made a great save yet again.
We're at the 22-minute mark of the second half. That means we're in the 68th minute total. John Carroll still with a 1-0 lead as Emma Bruno sends it out. Katie O'Donnell scored her third goal of the year, and one of the more impressive goals we've seen from either BW or any of its opposition all season, at least played here at home. This one jarred loose, and we've got a corner kick coming. Just taking a little while for the Blue Streaks to race over to it. Maybe race isn't the right way to say it. Trudge over into the corner.
Taking their time, of course. I mean, up by 1.
Don't blame them whatsoever.
Just a reminder, no stoppage time
That's right. So
in college soccer.
John Carroll with that 1-0 lead. They are using every second that they can, as that corner kick went into the side of the net. Good effort from Alexia Keller, but didn't have quite enough lateral rotation to it.
I think that's Jacqueline Gina returning to the field.
Yeah, she takes out Katie O'Donnell. Another throw in for the Blue Streaks. Fisher applied some pressure, and John Carroll has another throw in.
Jenny Burdick just couldn't keep that one in bounds as she tried to play it up the field. Good pressure by Kenna Stones, unfortunately, just ran away from her.
Fisher trying to keep this one in bounds. Taps it toward the middle. But again, nice defense. Problem is for BW, they can't seem to get it out of their own end right now. Under 20 minutes to go in regulation with John Carroll on top 1-0. You joined us a little late. I'm Brendan Gulick along with Juliana Rubin. John Carroll 6-3-2 overall. They're trying to win for the 5th time in their last 6 games. They have not dropped a game to BW, home or away, since at least 2007. BW is looking to get over the 500 mark here in conference play. A win, loss, and draw on their ledger so far.
We talked about the Yellow Jackets' schedule, and as the month goes on, their schedule seems to get harder. So it's important that they get a win tonight. It's important for both teams to get a win tonight.
High up the field. Bender to throw in. Quite a run up, and then just sort of a little drop over the top of her head. The pass up to Fabrizi. Trouble advancing on Alexia Keller. Here come 2 new subs. Mitchell Bronick comes back, and so does Kenna Poptic. Courtney Schutz takes a seat over at the bench. And Casey Lindstrom checks out for John Carroll. Maybe a chance here for Rachel Bender. Plays it back into the middle. She could have back-heeled it over to Stones instead. Webb tried to thread it where nobody was waiting.
Oh, it was a good look by the Yellow Jackets. They really just couldn't find anyone who was able to get that shot off. The John Carroll backline has done an excellent job of shutting down relatively all of BW's offense, unable to get really solid looks.
Yeah, Rachel Bender usually has pretty good vision. I'm surprised that she didn't just tap one behind her to the Stones, who had a lot of room. And instead, Kayla Webb was forced to work in a high-traffic area. Webb and Justina Fortson were caught up there in the midfield. By the way, the volleyball match that we had referenced from across the way is now final. John Carroll and BW played volleyball tonight over in Ersprung Gymnasium just across the street. And Baldwin Wallace continues their incredible year, now 25-1 after winning in 3 straight sets. Rachel Bender trying to tie the game. And Poptic couldn't get over the ball in time as Hannah Brenning helped solidify that back line. 16 minutes to go. Bender lost that one in the corner. Here comes another sub for BW. Anna Poptic leaves the field. Bella Szymanski, the freshman, takes her spot. John Carroll won on the volleyball court tonight, 25-22, 25-10, 25-14. Blue Streaks are now 3-1 in the OAC with their only loss of the year coming to Mount Union. But they still have some really tough games ahead of them, having not yet played Ohio Northern or Otterbein or Capital or Heidelberg. And all four of those teams are exceptional on the women's volleyball court, not just in the conference, but nationally. BW at 25-1, they're having the best season in school history. Corey Miller trying to work with Rachel Bender. Lays that one forward.
Try to just bounce that one in. Unfortunately, didn't really seem like any hit was intentional.
I think Jim Woykins' frustration is starting to mount a little bit on the far side of the field. You can see him standing with his arms folded. Knowing Jim, some of that could be because he's freezing. He said if it's 80 degrees outside, he still probably has sleeves on. But the look on his face at the moment probably has more to say about his current state than actually his clothing. We are under 15 minutes remaining in the game, and John Carroll's goal in the 52nd minute, the only one of the night so far.
John Carroll did just make a substitution. We saw Katie O'Donnell return to the field for Addie Burns.
Nice little screen there. Maybe it set Bender on a fast break. Too bad. It was a good look from Stones in the midfield. Burdick plays it back to the keeper, then goes wide. Touched it in the middle. A chance here for Brunig. And a goal kick. Another Yellow Jacket sub. Here comes Morgan Gray. She replaces Jenny Burdick in that back line. John Carroll's outshot BW tonight 16-10. 6-3 in the second half. Check that, 5-3 in the second half. Under 13 minutes to go. Going for Taylor Newhart in a moment. They're making a late sub. Skello checks out. John Carroll brings Haley Vinborg, the junior forward from Mentor, Ohio. Brings her into the game. High up into the air and out of bounds. BW down a goal, and they're playing a lot of defense here late as Emma Bruno came out, and that flag goes up. It was a dangerous play and an easy foul call. Certainly don't blame Skello for her aggression, but can't swing your leg into the keeper. She's charging the ball.
Not something you can do. But
actually, I'm sorry. I said Skello. I meant Audino. Audino was whistled for the foul.
Yeah, but Bruno did come out and made a power play there, which is definitely needed at this stage of the game.
Well, you can't have loose balls come to the top of the box like that.
Backline has a couple of fresh faces in it for the Yellow Jackets this evening, so hopefully they're able to organize each other relatively quickly and finish out the last 11 minutes pretty strong.
BW probably a little more concerned with scoring than they are with not giving up another goal at the moment.
Absolutely.
If you give up another goal, you're still stuck in the same pile of mud. Right now, it kind of feels like quicksand. BW just can't climb out. Every time they get the ball up the field, passes aren't finding anyone. Bailey Fisher, the reigning OAC Player of the Week. Rips one with the right foot. Deflected away beautifully by Bruno.
Great save by Emma Bruno. Come out, cut down the angle, get her hands on it to deflect it wide.
Haynham with a nice job defending Audino. Can Bender run it down? She's certainly giving it a chance. Never question her heart.
That one goes all the way back to Emma Bruno.
Bruno wants to feed it up to Bender. Bender right back to Poptic.
They're just not connecting.
No, they're not, and you can hear the frustration on the near side where all of the Yellow Jacket faithful are sitting. Things just are not coming together very well tonight. And in some regard, I think you give John Carroll some credit because they haven't let BW mount anything. But the Jackets are not helping themselves. Perhaps they can change their fortune here with a corner kick. Courtney Schutz returns. Anna Poptic returns. Bella Szymanski heads out. And looks like Kenna Poptic checks out. Fabrizi to take the corner. Perhaps Courtney Schutz is there too. It's a short corner. Fabrizi. Courtney Schutz has a chance to keep it alive.
Deflected.
Yeah, Fortson was right there. Bender racing after it. And the offside flag is waved. Katie O'Donnell's third goal of the year makes this game 1-0. She scored in the 52nd minute. We are currently in the 83rd minute. And at this point for BW, it is pedal to the metal. They have to find a way to at least force a tying goal, or else they'll lose to John Carroll and drop a critical game in the conference. Whistle for the stoppage of play, and I think we're going to get a booking. It's on Justina Fortson. Fortson didn't like it. The officials are fairly quick with their trigger there. Athletic training staff came out and wants to make sure that Lauren Haynham is okay. Thankfully, she got to her feet on her own power.
Right. I'm assuming they'll check her out for a head injury, as is protocol. It looked like she grabbed her face there.
Clock did stop for just a moment with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left. Looks like Morgan Gray, who against Mount Union assisted on a tremendous late goal to tie the game and force overtime. Can she replicate that feat here against BW's other rival? Gray rips one. Just off the top of the bar. And she draws the round of applause from the near side. A strike worthy of a goal. But perhaps BW just snake bitten tonight. Can't quite piece it together.
Just unlucky, really. I think we did see Bella Szymanski come on in the absence of Lauren Haynham.
Haynham definitely is not checked back in. Still over on the far sideline. Szymanski is back on the field. 6 minutes, 45 seconds to go. Bailey Fisher trying to keep the threat alive. Good move on the far side by Dino. And Bruno gobbles it up. BW is home on Saturday afternoon against Muskingum. That's their next affair. They would certainly like to go into that game against Muskingum off a better feeling. And even though the team is having a good year at the moment, they've got to start stringing some results together if they want to make the conference tournament, which takes the top 6 sides at the end of the regular season. Under 6 minutes to go, Corey Miller rolls it into the middle. And a pop tick. And it kind of slowed up. And she lost her footing. No foul called. Truth be told, I think that was a good no call. And even though there were some frustrated yells from the crowd on the near side. 5 minutes remaining. Good touch back to Rachel Bender in the middle. Courtney shoots. Back to Bender. Too bad. Szymanski tried to touch it to Bender after the original pass was a little tough. That was the first time in a while. It looked like BW had kind of something mounting.
Definitely looked like they were stringing together passes, and there's even some creativity in there. I think that's probably the longest offensive attack they've had.
4.5 minutes remaining. In fact, slightly less than that. Corey Miller rolls it across at the 4-minute mark. Good ball played ahead, looking for Fabrizi. She comes to it. And Szymanski throws it in, but not before Lauren Haino checks back in, and so Szymanski will have to just give her the ball. John Carroll rising up to the challenge here late in the game with just over 3 minutes to go.
It feels like BW is making a push.
I totally
agree.
agree.
Surge of energy.
But is that progress too little too late? They've got less than 3 minutes to score a goal, or else tonight will end in a John Carroll win. Kayla Webb, too strong, and then she got whacked on the ball as it was cleared out by Alyssa Simon. John Carroll's throw in. .228 on the clock.
Good play by Fabrizi, able to hold off the defender, play it back to Morgan Gray.
Webb and Fabrizi working far side. It's a BW throw in here. Lauren Hanem's pressed forward. She'll throw it into Courtney Schutz. That's off of John Carroll. 1:45 and counting. Mad dash to the finish at Finnie Stadium tonight. Schutz controls it. Left foots it. Long, high arcing shot off the top of the bar. How about the second time the Jackets have rung the bar in the last few minutes? That one came from Anna Poptic, and I don't think she had any intention of shooting the ball when she struck it. It came off her foot awkwardly and still nearly went in the net.
Yellow Jackets almost walked away with a really lucky one there. Just about a minute left in play.
Now less than a minute to go. Shoots ahead to Fabrizi. Swing and a miss defensively from Simon, but Brianna Canera picks it up. She kicks it away quickly. Still alive. Still Poptic lost it out of bounds. 37 seconds remaining. Seconds to go. You can hear Jim Waitkin yelling, "Keep it in play." John Carroll is just wasting valuable time now. They stop the clock at 11 seconds. Ryan Slack says, "Let's get on with it."
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
And unfortunately, that's how the game will end tonight. John Carroll with a goal early in the second half from Katie O'Donnell. It was definitely one of the best goals we've seen all season from almost 30 yards away. She strikes it in the bottom left-hand corner of the net. That's the only tally tonight for either team as John Carroll picks up their 5th win in their last 6 games. They are now 7-3-2 on the year, 3-0-1 in conference play, just half a game behind Ohio Northern. BW dropped its 2nd game in a row, and they have not won since they played at Marietta back on September 29th. So 0-2-1 now in the month of October. The Jackets 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 draw in conference play. Fall to 8-5-1 on the season overall. And I'm sure it's been a little bit frustrating the way the last 48 hours have kind of unraveled for Baldwin Wallace, but they've got to find a way to put the brakes on them quickly. Regroup and go to host Muskingum on Saturday and come up with a big win if they want to keep their name alive in this conference race.
Definitely, I agree. I think that, the past 48, 24 hours have been a little bit rough. I mean, even if we want to go back a little bit further, losing to Wilmington probably puts a knock on their self-esteem. But, I mean, they lose Elliott, and yes, that's a big blow. But I think that they need to come back, and they need to find themselves, and they have to play their game. It just didn't really seem like they were eager tonight to score that goal. It seemed like they kind of surged at the end, but there was just really no connecting, there's no creativity. It didn't really seem there was a whole lot of energy. And I think that it goes back to possession, and that's their style, and they didn't really play that way today.
Meanwhile, John Carroll grinds out the win on the road, and they will be tested on Friday at Ohio Northern, Friday night under the lights, a 7 p.m. kickoff with the Ohio Northern Polar Bears, who are 11-1-1 on the season, one of the best teams in women's college soccer. For Juliana Rubin, I'm Brendan Gulick. Good night from George Finnie Stadium, where the Blue Streaks beat the Yellow Jackets tonight by a final of 1-0. So long, everybody.